Whatever could this be? Do you have an idea what it is? Do you know? Any idea? Any clue? Anything at all that pops up in your mind? You know what it is? This is the moment that Amiah Catherine Miller took this picture. This is when the Dallas Cowboys made their winning move, their winning touchdown against the New York Giants. This was the 27-20 move. There it is. So this is a board game, by the way, but yeah. Oh, I forgot the little football. You can't possibly have a touchdown, right, without that little football. That's the football right there. And this is Amiah Sunday, for this Sunday, this December the 1st. First, are you our sort of person? Do you wear a glass eye, false teeth or a crutch, a brace or a hook, rubber breasts or a rubber crotch, stitches to show something's missing? No? No? Then how can we give you a thing? Stop crying, open your hand. Empty, empty, here is a hand. To fill it and willing, to bring teacups and roll away headaches, and do whatever you tell it. Will you marry it is guaranteed. To thumb shut your eyes at the end, to dissolve his sorrow. We make new stock from the salt. I notice you are stark naked. How about this suit? Black and stiff, but not a bad fit. Will you marry it? It is waterproof and shatterproof proof. Against fire or bombs through the roof. Believe me, they'll bury you in it. Now your head, excuse me, is empty. I have the ticket for that. Come here, sweetie, out of the closet. Well, what do you think of that? Naked as paper to start. But in 25 years, she'll be silver, in 50 gold. A living doll everywhere you look. It could sew, it could cook, it could talk, talk, talk. It works, there's nothing wrong with it. You have a hole, it's a politis. You have an eye, it's an image. My boy, it's your last resort. Will you marry it, marry it, marry it? So, that was the applicant. That was the third favorite poem I liked from here. I will tell you that this is a nice book. It really is. This is Ariel, the Restored Edition by Sylvia Plath. Here is the full book. I could have gotten the hardcover, but I'll follow the same path of Plath that Amiah follows and walks, because I think she's earned that. And I will tell you honestly, it is not my kind of book. It is not my favorite thing to read. But this woman, how do I describe her poetry? Now, I'm doing it a disservice by actually reading the poem to you, because as her daughter has said, an actor in a movie cannot express this poem without betraying the sort of the mystery feeling of how one interprets it. When you read it, that's the most you're supposed to get out of it. When you speak it, you're probably doing it a disservice because you're giving it one feeling. And I'm going to try to speak these. I have 3 poems that I liked from this book, so I'm going to recite the 3. I'm going to recite the other 2. And with this, we have winner of the Pulitzer Prize. This is a restored edition with a lot of poems restored the way with grammar, and it matters with the grammar, commas, when sentences end, when sentences begin, when you have even some of the misspell. There's very few misspellings. Where do you put a comma, right? Where do you put an extra word? When do you take out a word? There's a lot of rewrites of Ariel. There's a lot of rewrites of The Swarm, which was not in the UK edition, but in the US edition. So the introduction talks a little bit about what is she about. It talks about her daughter, talks about her mom, and her mom is a very passionate woman who writes passionate poetry. Her husband cheated on her with another woman. And you can feel that in these poems. You can feel that the way she looks at herself in all these metaphors. Now, I cannot write as good as she can, but as far as the sort of making these abstracts within a reality, I just can't do it. maybe I could do it in a way that means something to me, but not in this way of where everybody can relate to it. Um, this is a passionate woman, and all her poems are passionate because she has suffered. She was here and wrote these poems because she had suffered. She died probably around the time my oldest sister, was born, and there's just a lot to appreciate about this person. So I mean, like you see her life story. We get into the poems. We look at revised. We look at the original edition of Ariel, and then we get into an interview, which is very straightforward. Uh, Sylvia knows what she wants, and she doesn't, and she disregards what she doesn't want, with little room to reconsider anything. Um, I think she was trying to hold on to something. If she couldn't hold on to her marriage, she was trying to hold on, and her husband did the best that he could, um, restoring those poems. But he just wasn't a faithful man. He loved her poems, but he did not love her. He loved her poetry. He thought her poetry was amazing. Some women I've dated appreciated the art I did, but not me. It's a very strange dynamic. It's like, I think Amiah would ask herself, how can someone appreciate the work of someone but not the person? It is a very strange thing relationships can be. Um, you can appreciate objectively what that person has done and completely have no sexual recourse for that person you're with. And I believe, like for me, when I saw my parents suffer and my sisters suffer getting married, my cousins, my uncle, and my aunt, I learned a lot. I think people get married because they're supposed to do the right thing, and they suffer for it. And it shows up. She's not happy being a mother at times. She's not happy where she is. She just sees those metaphors. Metaphors are a big, big. I think of haiku, right? Haiku is about they're not rhyming either. She doesn't rhyme. Just a spoiler here, okay? This is poetry, but she does not rhyme in these poems. But she does express the metaphors a lot. Whereas in haiku, you're expressing nature, like the leaves fall above the cherry blossom, dwindling, dwindling. The sun rays hit green to brown, brown to ash, ash to air, back into green again, something like that. I'm just making up a haiku like that. That's haiku is talking about nature, but this is her nature is the chaotic world in front of her. And the applicant to me represented something that was like, is this good enough? Is this bad enough? Is this tasteful enough? Is this distasteful? So that's the thing you have to keep in mind. How far is it? How far is it now? The gigantic gorilla interior. All the wheels move, they appall me. The terrible brains of corrupt black muscles. Revolving sound, punching out absence like cannon. It is Russia. I have to get across. It is some war or other. I'm dragging my body quietly through the straw of the boxcars. Now it is time for bribery. What do wheels eat? These wheels, fixed to their Aries like gods, the silver leash of the will, the inexorable in their pride. All the gods know is destinations. I am a letter in the slot. I fly to a name, 2 eyes. Will there be fire? Will there be bread? How much is there mud? How there is such mud. It is a train stop. The nurses, undergoing the faucet water. It's veils. Veils is a nunnery. Touching their wounded. The men are blood still pumps forward. The blood still pumps forward. Legs arm piled inside. The tent of unending cries. A hospital dolls. And the men, what is left of the men, pumped ahead by these prisons, this blood, into the next mile. The next hour, dynasty of broken arrows. How far is it? Mud on my feet, thick, red, and slipping. It is Adam's side. This earth I rise from, and I'm in agony. I cannot undo myself, and the tram is steaming and breathing its teeth, ready to roll like a devil's. There is a minute at the end of it. A minute, a dewdrop. How far is it? It is so small. The place I'm getting to, why are these obstacles? Why are there these obstacles? The body of this woman, charred skirts and death mask, mourned by religious figures like garland children, and now detonations, thunder and guns, the fire between us. Is there no still place, turning in the middle air, untouched and untouchable? The drainage dragging itself, it is screaming, an animal. And save for the destination, the blood spot, the face at the end of the flare. I still bury the wounded like pupas. I shall come and bury the dead. I shall count and bury the dead. Let their souls writhe in a dew. Incense in my track. The carriages rock their cradles, and I, stepping from the skin of old bandages, boredom's old faces, step to you from the black car of loath, of leth, pure as a baby. I could not read that right. If you paid me, I kept seeing it wrong. That's what happens. I kept seeing it wrong. So that was Getting There. That was the second poem. I like that she's trying to get from one place to another, and there are all these obstacles. That's what the applicant one was to me was like, are you good enough? Are you good enough for what's coming? Are you smart enough for what's coming? And getting there is just getting there. Like that's what this poem feels like. You know, you're trying to avoid every obstacle, but it doesn't feel right. So it's now time to give a score for this. How do I feel? I would say like there's a lot to like. I'm going to give you my mood rating. Okay, this is a new thing. Okay, kept you in suspense long enough. I'm going to give this. This is my overall score. Hold on, because you have to give the right score here. Okay. Let us turn out that light. That is my overall score for Sylvia Plath's Ariel, the Restored Edition. So I'm somewhere between a 4.5 and a 5 as far as mood goes. I thought it was very good. Just on all the things I've said before, it's worth reading. It's worth giving attention to. So with that, I mean, it's really exciting just to get into it. I'm going to read the last poem to you, and I'm going to probably just turn on the backlight so it'll be easier for me to read this. Okay. So I think that this is one of the better poems by a woman that I've ever seen. Men, there's a difference in what men, I think we enjoy the conflicts of the things in our lives to a degree. You know, girls like, I mean, in general, not all girls, but a lot of females like pretty, beautiful gardens and beautiful things and, you know, stability. But it's like, if a woman's writing about conflict and horror and war all the time, it's like, oh my God, something's wrong. If a man does it, it's like, we're like enjoying ourselves, just going too much into it. But I think the fact that she's going into this when she should be at peace. I mean, you could tell she was not at peace with herself. You could tell Sylvia was struggling. But I'm going to read my first favorite, and it's actually the one that was not released in the United States or released in the UK. And if I can find it, we can get to it. If it is allowing me to find it. Here is The Swarm, my first favorite poem. Somebody is shooting at something in our town. A dull pom-pom in the Sunday street. Jealousy can open the blood. It can make black roses. What are they shooting at? Is it you the knives are out for? At Waterloo, Napoleon. The hump of Elba on your short back. And the snow marshalling in its brilliant cutlery. Mass after mass saying, shh, shh. These are chess people you play with. Still figures of ivory. The mud squirms with throats. Stepping stones for French boot soles. The gilt and pink domes of Russia melts and float off. In the furniture of Greed, clouds, clouds. So the swarm balls in deserts. 70 feet up in a black pine tree. It must be shot down. Pom pom. So dumb it thinks bullets are thunder. It thinks they are the voice of God. Condoning the beak, the claw, and the grin of the dog. Yellow-haunched, a pack dog, grinning over its bone of ivory. Like the pack, like everybody. The bees have got so far, 70 feet high. Russia, Poland, and Germany. The mild hills, the same old magenta. Fields shrunk to a penny. Spun into a river, the river crossed. The bees argue in their black ball. A flying hedgehog, all prickles. A man with gray hands stands under the honeycomb of their dream, the hive station, where trains, faithful to their steel arcs, leave and arrive, and there's no end to the country. Pom, pom, they fall, dismembered to a tot of ivy. So much for the chariots, the outriders, the grand army, the red chatter, Napoleon. The last badge of victory. The swarm is knocked down to a cocked straw hat. Elba bled on the sea. The white busts of marshals, admirals, generals, warming themselves in niche. how indestructible this is. How instructive this is. The dumb, bandied bodies walking the plank, draped with Mother Frances upholstery, into a new mausoleum, an ivory palace, a crotch pine. The man with the gray hand smiles, the smile of a man of business, intensely practical. They are not hands at all, but at best those receptacles, pom-pom, they would have killed me. Stings big as drawing pins. It seems bees have a notion of honor. A black, intractable mind. Napoleon is pleased. He is pleased with everything. Oh, Europe, oh, ton of honey. And that was the swarm. So I will close this video out, this Amiah Sunday out, with this. And here's a picture from Amiah Miller. There's Maya's over there. We shall zoom in on that for a moment. But I'm going to think of a poem on the spot while I'm showing you the picture. So I dedicate this one to Amiah, called The Shimmer. Black, white, transparent, thick, in, out. Where is she? Was she ever here? She is everywhere. She is nowhere. Her face, a face of a coin, the face of reality, the face of morphing, bleeding, and not bleeding. She is one person. She is many people. She is cat and dog. She is human. What is she? Where was she? Was she ever here? Will she be here? In so many different directions, in too many directions. Now you see her, now you don't, but you never did. But you will. The least you suspect, the camouflage, the in bright daylight, in plain sight, in plain delight. But she's there, and you're there, but not at the same time. But enough of the stupid rhyme. That's all I got. That's all I could come up with. Anyway, peace and more Amiah Sunday next week, I hope.